Hello and welcome to another edition of XFeed. You might have noticed, we're trying to dress up a little because this is serious business. If this is your first time tuning in, what's up? My name is The Schiller. We go live Monday through Friday talking about NFTs, Web3, crypto, all that kind of fun jazz. And as well, if you're wanting something a little bit different, we do host the RWA SegMints Podcast. You can find the link in the description down below on YouTube or on my bio on X if you're wanting to learn a little bit about the world becoming tokenized. Today, I want to focus mainly on all of the rage that is going around PunkStrategy, TokenWorks, and their subsequent strategies that is elevating the NFT marketplace as a whole. Now, while we can all agree that we probably need to have a little bit of a better term than NFT because of just, it's not that fun to say. It's not that cool. Most people kind of look at you a little bit sideways. There is a lot that's going on that is worth paying attention to. And this is something that has really sparked sort of an interest back in the NFT sector of things. And so that's what we're going to cover mainly today. And if you have any questions as we're going through, I'll try to answer them. So welcome to the Perpetual Punk Machine, an automated protocol designed to get exposure to CryptoPunks forever. So before we go over all of this, we need to start with kind of an overarching thought. So when you think of crypto, you'll probably think of Bitcoin, and pretty much anybody you talk to knows what it is, and it's at a point now where it's a household name. And Roar, what's up? Most people, I would argue, would say definitively, yes, Bitcoin is the king. It's the number one. And everything below it is just never going to catch where it is. Historically, culturally, whatever you want to say, it's the top dog. And so you'll have a lot of people that are just simply Bitcoin maxis because there's a lot of things that could go wrong in some of the smaller cryptos. So if you take that mindset of saying, okay, I want the best and only the best. When you look at the NFT market, there's a lot of different collections and collectibles that are out there, but CryptoPunks, for better or worse, are in kind of that same breath as Bitcoin, where culturally, historically, all that stuff, it is as relevant for that sector and classified as the king. I would make that argument, and I think the vast majority of people would. So if you see the likes of Michael Saylor out there who is going and buying up all the Bitcoin that there is, what does it look like if you take that concept and you try to kind of mimic it in a way, but a little bit differently, and try to accumulate as many CryptoPunks as you can? Now, this is a very similar mechanism to that, but over a long stretch of time, I think a lot of us would say, all right, we like Bitcoin kind of as a bet, and I think, CryptoPunks as a bet long-term, probably going to do pretty okay because, again, it is that Pico, Cremo, top dog. Okay, so let's continue with that mindset. We call it the yo-yo, a simple mechanism for buying and selling punks while burning token supply forever. 10% of each trade of the PunkStrategy token is taken as a fee and stored in the protocol. When there is enough fees in the pool, the machine buys a floor punk. The punk automatically gets listed for 1.2x the price. When the punk is sold, all of the ETH buys and burn PunkSTR. So the hardest part about all of this is really getting the idea up off the ground, off of its inception. Because the concept's kind of cool, but again, you're just going to never end up getting any sort of fees if you don't have people buying and selling this token. So the hardest part of pretty much all of this, except for coming up with the idea, is having it adopted in any sort of way. And that's where you're seeing on the timeline, everybody's talking about it, and there was multiples of people out there you could find when it first came out saying, hey, this is going to be great, and other people saying, I got into it early, and then I didn't really trust it. And we'll kind of see how it goes, but I'm extremely bullish on this, and this is why we're dressing up today, to really say I think that this is something to pay attention to, because it's going to have a ripple effect on basically the entire NFT sector, which is what we cover, which is, I'm guessing, is why something that you're exposed to right now to, be aware of what's going on. So the mission, buy and sell punks. So far, the machine has bought and sold these punks, and so it's a cluster of them. I want to say that they're up to about 20, if not more. Apologies off the top of my head, I don't really remember, which we could actually go through and just check on here. So let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 12. We're like 20 range. Okay. Yo, JC, what's up? Good afternoon, Schiller. I was wondering if the Punkism NFT project is a lit project. Yeah, no, this is why we're doing it. I appreciate you coming through because we can look at every angle of this. And if you guys have any questions, we'd be happy to. So Again, if we think back to what I just said, every time that a CryptoPunk is bought from this protocol based off of fees, which right now it's 17.8% to get to the next CryptoPunk. And that is derived from everybody buying and selling this PunkSTR token, right? So 10% of any transaction can add up. But of course, CryptoPunks are about $180,000 US. So that's going to take a little bit of time. But look how many they're already holding after just about 2 weeks. So it has kind of begun this flywheel effect. And then you can see on the bottom here that one of these CryptoPunks has sold. So it relists after it automatically buys for 1.2x. Or sorry, it's not automatic. Some people do it as smart contract. Anyway, it lists it higher and then it goes back and buys the token. So essentially it puts 56 ETH, or it did at one point, back into that token and then burning the supply. So it's got this very interesting flywheel effect that if somebody, like within this protocol, you can actually see which ones are listed. So let's say for whatever reason, I'm like, okay, this guy right here, it's got glasses. I mean, I had a mohawk at one point when I played rugby back in high school. Okay, 53 ETH. The floor for a CryptoPunk is lower than that, but let's say that I really want that one. So I go out and purchase it, and then boom, that goes back and buys the token. So you can see how this flywheel effect takes place, because when off the top of the show, we tried to reference, hey, you know what, in a long-term horizon, a lot of people have bet on Bitcoin saying we think that it's going to go up in price. This is virtually the same thing, where if these CryptoPunks go up and all of a sudden, instead of 200,000, these are selling for 300,000, well, that's 300,000 that's continually going back and buying this token. So you get that concept, and this is kind of the gist of it, right? And hopefully you kind of get an idea of what it was from that. Now, there's more to this that they've expanded, and there's actually a few different things. If you go to CTO, this is their first token that was ever launched, and it's on BAYC, which is very interesting because BAYC has gotten a ton of attention. But generally speaking, I don't think it's really done anything. And then they've done PunkStrategy, which has done well. But then for these NFT strategies, this is where it gets very interesting, and the conversations and terminology that I'm in saying flywheel really takes into effect, because it's not only are you kind of relying on the buyers that are out there for CryptoPunks to be able to keep that mechanism going, there is actually a feedback loop from all of the other NFTs that are getting their own strategy token. So far, you can see how they've got the PunkStrategy. There is the Moonbirds, Squiggles, Cryptodickbutts, Toadz, Bored Ape Yacht Club, Pudgy Strategy, Meebits, and there's a cluster of them. There is a cluster of them. And so when you see this chart here, a percent of all of these other ones, which have the exact same mechanic as PunkStrategy, but it's for Moonbird, Squiggles, Cryptodickbutts, whatever it is, you are able to pick on what ecosystem that you kind of find interesting, but a percent of every transaction of these underlying tokens goes back to feed PunkStrategy. So hypothetically, let's say that the Bored Ape Yacht Club strategy or Bored Apes go absolutely crazy and that ecosystem starts churning. Well, that's going to end up positively impacting what's going on with PunkStrategy. So it's this king. You have the historical aspect, and then you have what's going on with this massive, massive flywheel of what's going through. So let's jump into different takes along the timeline. And for anyone that's not seen the daily show, this is sort of what it is, where I go through, react to different posts, and you might be featured on here. So again, always be sharing your thoughts, because you never know who might be watching. DGMD. This is probably the biggest, I'll call it like influencer or thought leader around the PunkStrategy. Always very interesting takes. Highly recommend to follow. But they said, in my opinion, we are starting to see too many short-term traders sweep NFTs of upcoming NFT strategy launches. I'm indefinitely bullish on NFTs in the strategy ecosystem, but the natural course of this will cause larger post-launch dips in both the NFT and coin. I'll be buying those dips. Think long-term. Okay, so that's a personal take on what he wants to do and what's up, Tolly. But the thing that started happening with this is people realized these strategies are going and just scooping up NFTs. So the Squiggle strategy, this one came out a day or two ago. It's already bought 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's already bought about 20, and these are selling for $20,000 per. So it's 210 ETH worth of fees just within this, because Squiggles not, it doesn't get fees from anywhere else. It's just people buying this token initially. And you can see that it's 80% of the way to buy the next one. So people realizing, oh my goodness, off of these launches, if my collection gets a strategy, I am going to be holding something that's worth a lot more. So then people were going back and flipping, and this created speculation once again within the NFT markets. Because for a second, if you think about it, what's happened within the NFT marketplace, and we'll use Doodles as an example, they have a new announcement all the time. And people are complaining about, oh, the price isn't going up, this, that, and the other thing. And we're not in the same way where a couple of years ago, you had any sort of rumor, any sort of actual like real positive news affecting these collections. Speculation essentially died. We can look on these different marketplaces and say fees, the royalties, all of this sort of stuff was the reason that speculation kind of got taken out of the market. But this has completely re-brought it back to the forefront in a very, very interesting ways. So the first half hour of the launch for Squiggles, there was 14 that were picked up. And they've made an announcement, the TokenWorks team, that there's going to be 7 back-to-back-to-back strategies. Now, they've delayed it a little bit, so I think we only had the Squiggle one, but there's still another 6 to come, and one of those being Good Vibes Club. So envision a world where we see almost every single NFT collection have this sort of kind of flywheel that continually goes back to CryptoPunks, while people are able to essentially get into these ecosystems or have exposure without having to drop, $20,000 on one of these Squiggles if it's not up for grabs. But the cool thing with this is that each team can try to do their own take on how to support the strategy token. Because instead of needing to create a blockchain and all of these wild, cool tech things and creating value and these expectations and whatnot, you can kind of just go back to, all right, we have some people that are speculating on things. Well, we also have people that are wanting to collect these things, and they can do so in a way that makes sense. And they don't have to, build all that other stuff, right? You just have to figure out how to help this token. So I think that this is going to be a wildly fun thing to watch. And there's already, as Blocks is saying here, that the vibe wheel for Good Vibes Club, what does it look like and how is the team going to end up supporting that? And so here's an example of what Squiggles is doing from their DAO. All fees earned by Squiggle DAO will be reinvested to buy Squiggles listed by the Squiggle strategy. So when people are going and purchasing this, they're going to now have a double-edged sword of, do I want to go and buy the slightly higher priced NFT of a collection because I know that it's going to feed back and, help with the fees to buy more, or do I just end up going for a floor one and for people bringing in the funds? We've seen this with Cryptodickbutts. I think they bought like 3 of them. Squiggle DAO, they're announcing that they're going to do stuff. Meebits or Jito, which I've interviewed on the RWA SegMints podcast before, he's really, really helping support the Meebits strategy token. And this is back to where we're just seeing every collection suddenly having speculation and floor rising about it. Gin Capri, I just swept 20 Nakamigos. Why? Things will get very interesting when TokenWorks launches a Nakamigo coin. They bought 27 Squiggles today. That's 135 ETH. Imagine what this can do with Nakamigos at this low price. So for anybody that's within the Futureverse community, and you've seen conversations around people saying this around Fluff World, like if that happened where they're like $150 right now, 200, whatever it is, that would just absolutely skyrocket the floor. But the catch again is that right now, the strategies that are getting launched are kind of picked from the TokenWorks team. At some point here shortly, they are opening it up to everybody to be able to go and kind of have their own token for different NFT collections that's officially like a part of that. That again, all feeds back to the PunkStrategy one. And we're going to continue here in a second, but I just noticed that Roar had a question. Wait, so am I understanding right? A lot of brands and new projects are adopting the buybacks now? I don't know if I would say that they're adopting the buybacks, but they are helping to support the token in whatever way that it is. And this is also reintroducing royalties, because when you look at these NFT marketplaces, for a lot of them, they actually took away the creator royalties because of what happened with Blur. And so actually a percent of that 10% for each of these collections are going to the team. So the team can decide, hey, we want to pocket this. This is cool revenue for us. Or say, you know what, we want to reinvest, either buy the floors like Squiggles did for their DAO, specifically from that. And some have not said a word. Like Luca Nets from Pudgy Penguins hasn't said anything. But the thought with that, and why some people are speculating is, well, okay, they haven't said anything yet, but what if they come up with a crazy mechanism to help support that, which helps support the floor, which helps support kind of everybody that wants to be a part of that ecosystem as a whole. So then Incredible Guy says, LMFAO, how is all of this garbage 6 to 7 billion? And this is where I think we are at a crazy point that if this ends up getting adopted, I wouldn't be surprised if this could hit like beyond the top 100 and maybe even go here, because you have these buyback models, you have something that's more to it. And when we say things are like a meme, does Shiba Inu really have any sort of value associated with it? And okay, maybe people find it funny, you know, different parts of the world has all this stuff that they're like helping support it. But I mean, I've always made the argument, when you look at the top 100 cryptos, like what the hell is the rationale for it? Is it just there's that much institutional demand? There's that many like VCs, money behind the scenes, you know, deals that are going on. Like why are some of these things going for the price that they are? And so seeing this model where it's like, all right, we have the biggest community in Web3. Well, I don't know if it's necessarily the biggest, probably like the Bitcoin community would be biggest, but NFTs go across all of these different networks, right? It doesn't matter if you're over on Solana, you have NFTs. If you're on ETH, you have NFTs. If you're on BNB, you have NFTs. If you're on Bitcoin, there's even that, right? And we have this kind of social group that's forming together that is very, very powerful, but you're seeing a lot of people that are kind of hesitant on what this is. And so that's one of the reasons why I wanted to make this video. And we got a whole lot more to come through. So again, sit tight. Get ready for the show. Again, if this is your first time tuning in, what's up? Monday through Friday, we go live. Any likes, shares of this would be massively appreciated, because we are going down the rabbit hole. So you've seen the valuations of what some of these are looking like. And again, when you kind of scroll through and look at these things, all right, the entire NFT market cap, the entirety of all NFTs, if you were going to put them in a pot, $5.7 billion. So where does a valuation of $5.7 billion end up putting you? Well, it puts you right in line kind of just above where Uniswap is, which is the decentralized exchange. Many of you have probably used Monero, which is a privacy coin, and then World Liberty Financial, which didn't exist until earlier this year. And for some flipping reason, it's at $5.5 billion valuation. So when you see the entirety of the NFT market cap as of right now at 5.6 billion being paired up with these ones, maybe there's something here, just maybe. And so Ned Ryerson, I wonder if the Burb strategy is too expensive at 3.7 million. Also I can't believe WIF is only at 736 million. All the strategy tokens might be underpriced. So again, is this kind of the new meme cycle where there's actually utility? We've talked about utility tokens, which are supposed to be for these different networks and have something about it, but I feel like this is very innovative and something that can have a massive, massive ripple effect. Where seed phrase, what we just looked at, we're still 6,000% from surpassing the entire NFT market cap higher. And again, the idea is that every single NFT has a strategy token. Now, does everyone go out and buy these strategy tokens? That's something to kind of maybe question. But still, even if they don't, if you have all these collections, you already have the first 7 that have been adopted in some form, and every buy and sell, even if all those tokens end up going like just crashing right now, that's 10% fees on everything that's going to be used to scoop up the floor. So the problem also with this, I suppose, is that if NFTs just completely lose their bid, which then back to the Bitcoin argument, well, I don't think the king in CryptoPunks is ever going to necessarily lose its bid. Could it have its ups and downs? Sure. But the other ones that are below it, right? The ones that people call, oh yeah, your meme coins, your shit coins, whatever it is. Well, I mean, sure, maybe those ones could actually go to zero. But I think we can make the argument that the CryptoPunk one for sure, historically and culturally, is going to be there. And that's what makes all of this super interesting. If you didn't have that, again, you use a lot of it. So El Barba, I don't think you understand the biggest part of the NFT strategy. Rhinotic, who's the creator, created the greatest experiment we have seen to prove decentralized community will be the future. Showing the creator economy, ownership is not just about the asset, but the peers who believe in you. And I have to say, the amount of people that I've started to follow, that's followed back, that I've started direct message conversations with, reconnecting from every different collection. I've been on this stream for 2 years saying, we're tribalistic, everybody hates each other. How the hell are people going to get brought back together? And our de facto response to that was, I don't know, like hopefully something within one of these metaverse platforms, I guess, where we're all our different avatars and we have this thing and we have something in common to unite us. Well, clearly that's not happened yet, but bam, all of a sudden we have a reason to connect because we're all kind of rooting for each other's success. And if you're somebody that's in that punk strategy, well, every success elsewhere matters to you. So suddenly all of these collections that have a strategy suddenly have marketing in a way where they're getting eyes on everything that's going on. It's super interesting. So back to DGMD, I think soon we start to see some founders do some truly innovative things with their strategies. I think we will have one, maybe one you least expect, just go on an absolute moon mission. This will ignite a storm of new projects, volume, volatility, collectorship, NFT season. So this is where you start having to kind of think for yourself and be like, all right, is this Schiller guy just talking nonsense, or is this actually going to be a thing? But again, the Squiggles DAO, we're seeing these different entities associated, if it's not the team directly, figuring out ways to help support these tokens. And if one does really, really well, again, that feeds all the way back into that punk strategy. So again, sure, you could look at these underlying things and figure it out, but then all of that moves up to there, and we'll come back to this in a little bit. I'm here for the tech, says Ben.Leo, the NFT tech. Well, everybody's just speculating again. And so nobody's gonna, people go from, oh my God, I don't like this NFT strategy thing, to, oh, hey, it's raising our NFTs that haven't moved in a year. Hey, party. And it's just beginning, right? So this is also where people that are saying, oh, NFTs are back, maybe it's a little bit too soon because a lot of this is off speculation, but the flywheel has flywheels upon flywheels. We got NFT strategy ecosystem category in CoinGecko before GTA 6. So the category conversation, when you're looking at what's going on here, let's give a little bit of a perspective when we talk about memes. And we're going to talk about one of the specific strategies here in a moment. So there's an app called CoinStats that if you're wanting to use, I mean, they have a mobile app as well if you're wanting to like track what your crypto is in like a free sense. But I went to this and I went down their categories and I tried to find different ones that were just related to memes, and I found a few. Okay, so the TikTok meme category, MOODENG. You're probably familiar with that, and if you're not, basically this was the hippopotamus, like the baby hippopotamus that went like super viral because it like looked cute. That was called MOODENG. Right now, it's at a market cap of about $206 million, which is nuts. So then let's go to the next one here, and this one is the parody meme cryptocurrencies. And you can see the troll here has a market cap of $213 million. So again, I ask you, is that funny? Why are the valuations exactly what they are? And then CHILLGUY, if you remember earlier, this was a huge impact on the NFT space because they're like, oh, people are making a crypto on my art, says some guy that made the art, and then he was super against it, and then it all died when he could have embraced it and changed lives, had a crazy career. But the stigma around crypto, this was a great example of it, but it's still at a $38 million market cap when the meme is essentially dead. And that's the problem with a lot of these tokens, is because you need these other people that agree, hey, you know what, that's funny, or I want to go into this, or this network needs massive adoption. You don't need the same within these strategies because you have that buyback mechanism, okay? So within TokenWorks, the meme category, if you will, is the Cryptodickbutts one, which is called Dick Strategy, which is stupid. I can't believe I'm even saying that. Listen, I'm dressing up because I know my parents end up viewing the stream and they're going to be like, what the hell is going on? But this was a collection that just like culturally was something that ended up picking up steam forever, right? We look at Doodles, we look at Cool Cats, we look at Bored Ape Yacht Club, Azuki, Pudgy Penguins. There's all these different collections that we've classified as blue chips over the years, right? Nobody says the term blue chip anymore, but there's a lot of different ones that are like that. I thought this one was kind of like, you know what? Back in the day, I didn't really get it, but it got to a point where it's kind of mimetic and it's part of, I guess, like the crypto culture, at least the NFT one, and people within the space know what it is. And so people are saying within all of these different strategies, well, that one's going to be the meme one just simply because of the name. And we just saw a second ago where you were seeing a bunch of other memes within specific categories that have market caps that aren't like that crazy at 200 mil, right? And it's a fair few ones of that. So then let's talk about the flywheel effect, right? Because you're going to have some smaller collections where Squiggles was $20,000 for these Cryptodickbutts. It's like $6,000. So it's a lot smaller. But every time that there's a buy and sell on that amount of money goes back into the token. And this one was one of the fastest ones at 3.16 burned as of 28. That was yesterday at 8:30. And it's going to end up having more. It's going to end up having more. The question with this is, how fast does this sort of thing happen? Is it based off of, all right, these things selling as the NFTs, or is it based off people speculating of just like the name that is sort of funny with this? And so you're seeing within the categories, there's categories. And so as a cluster, do we see a huge uptick in attention, success, people making their own things off of it? We see more memes that come in and have that. Is the Cryptodickbutts one with like the dick strategy ends up passing Pepe and all that kind of stuff? Like, what does the world look like if that's a real thing? And it's absolutely wild to watch, because that one is the lowest market cap of all the original 7. So is it sort of like the NHL where everybody always brings it up all the time, where for these strategies, if this does end up taking off and having a lot of interest, that it becomes just a gigantic ecosystem? I've been trying to think of how I should word this the right way. And I would make the argument that I think TokenWorks, who's the creator of all these strategies and this concept, is this cycle's version of the latest Pudgy Penguins, which an Igloo Inc., I think, again, that ecosystem could still rise, but I would argue that we've seen Igloo Inc. really having a lot of interest as of late. And then the original Bored Ape Yacht Club, right? If we're talking from year-to-year basis, Bored Ape Yacht Club, when in its first inception, just everything they were doing, it was, whether it was innovating within the space, whether it was just doing something right pretty much all the time and something that people had to look forward to. Igloo Inc., Pudgy Penguins, that was the exact same thing over the past like 12 months or so. I really think that what TokenWorks is doing here, if this ends up getting adopted, is going to be what everybody really, really pays attention to. And so then you go back and you need to learn about history, but where are you going to do that? Hopefully there's some person that documented history of the NFT space for the past couple of years. That is right, we have. So again, if you're over on YouTube, check out the live video section, and you could just scroll for hours, past 2 years, every day. Well, Monday through Friday. So then how crazy could this end up being if every single NFT collection has one of these? It gets slightly adopted. Some of them go on a moon mission, bada. We're talking massive collections, $5.6 billion worth of NFTs having their own strategy, some of that getting allocated towards the token that all then funnels the PunkStrategy, which is then gobbling up as much CryptoPunks as they possibly can. And remember, there's only 10,000 of them. An LV50 with a good point that I've seen a couple other people mention. Also, no reason why this protocol can't be cross-chain, because right now these are just the Ethereum NFTs, where again, you have Solana, ApeChain, Abstract. I think ApeChain's one word. That's going to be a red card. Hold on, we got to bring it up. It's going to be a red card, buddy. All fees can still be converted to PunkSTR on Ethereum. Initially, I didn't get the potential of all this. I remember seeing LV50 like flooding the hell out of this. And there was a lot of people that like didn't get it. And then there's a point that a lot of people are like, okay, well, if this actually gets some form of adoption, this can get exponential very, very quickly. Initially, I didn't get the potential of all this for PunkSTR, but have since come to realize we haven't seen nothing yet. And then you'll see the copycats. And this was a huge component back in the day, where Wolfgame, as an example, as soon as that came out and the concept, the DeFi mechanisms within it, a bunch of other people rushed to copy what it was, and there was exploits, things that just didn't work. So Milady, which is a different NFT collection, tried doing one of their own things. And what happened with it? Well, it went up 30%, except for the fact that 10 wallets hold half the supply. So the way that it works within TokenWorks is that at launch, there is a 95% tax when you first buy, basically at zero. And so it tries to steer clear of snipers and people that do that, because again, half the supply being in 10 people's wallet is not what you're wanting to do. So if you guys have any questions, I would love to hear it. I was going to go over news and all that kind of stuff, but we'll just save it for another day. I think this is relevant because we've seen like a huge pushback. And JC, I know you said that earlier. I don't know why that came up now, but this is, yeah, I mean, I just think that this is something that's worth paying attention to, worth not fudding. I think it's very plus EV to be positive around this, because we are going to see spirits get uplifted. People have talked about, oh, you know, what are the catalysts? What are these going to be? And we've said, well, institutions seemingly are leading all of this crypto growth for the most part, right? Like, sure, there's been a lot of side things that have been quite good. But if we're thinking, all right, well, all the institutions, we're kind of relying on that. Well, we have a huge community here, like within Web3, like how do we kind of support this? How do we rally around something? And I think, I genuinely think that this is going to be something that a lot of people rally around, and we'll see. Right now it's at just under 100 mil market cap. We've looked at other stuff that's upwards of 5 bill, which is like the entire NFT market cap. So how much from these illiquid NFTs go towards the token? That's going to be it for this edition of XFeed. I know we didn't go over the news, but I got to leave you wanting a little bit more. I hope you had fun learning about this. If you guys have any questions afterwards, again, on YouTube, feel free to leave them in the comments, and I'll try to answer where they are. But no, NFTs are not dead. Roar, thank you for coming through. Did you just leave court? Nice suit? Nah. Listen, Peckham, we got on the suit because we think that the things are about to get, we think that things are about to get serious. But if you just got here, I'll end the stream, I'll let you rewatch, and then hit me up if you got any questions, because I think you're going to like it. But thank you for coming on through. Guys, I'll catch you tomorrow. Have yourself a beautiful afternoon.